and you're very welcome to episode number 1 of our Final Whistle Women's Rugby podcast. We'll be covering the second half of what promises to be an exciting Energia All-Ireland League Women's Division season. Of course, we have the Junior Cup final next weekend as well, and of course there will be a promotion decider to come later on in the season, so plenty of action to digest over the coming weeks. The Celtic Challenge has kicked off as well. We'll be touching on that later on in the episode, and of course we have Six Nations around the corner as well to look forward to. My own name is Diarmuid Kearney. I'm delighted to welcome you to our first episode of what promises to be an exciting women's rugby podcast now over the coming weeks, and with me to digest it all is Aimee Clarke from Railway Union and Stacy Hanley from Galwegians. If you're watching on the video, you'll see the two girls as eager as ever to get ready to digest it. How have you enjoyed the little off-season break over the Christmas?
I've enjoyed it too much. I've had too many mince pies and too much fun.
I'm the exact same. Absolutely overdid it and need to undo it.
What's it like for an athlete when you're, say, you ended the season kind of midway in December and now you're coming back second weekend in January? Have you had many sessions on the pitch, or is it mainly just kind of gym work over these last few weeks?
We kind of kept going till about a week and a half after the last game. Just kind of kept in touch, kind of tried to keep working on what we've been working on so far. And then we had a couple gym sessions and we had a camp there the weekend. So we've kind of still all been around each other. Now you get your few days off at Christmas, but it's kind of just business as usual, really.
We were supposed to train up till Christmas, but a lot of our players, a lot of the young girls from college and stuff, they don't live local, so we weren't really able to get numbers the week before Christmas. Unfortunately, we did want to keep going, but we just kind of all agreed to stay on top of our conditioning and getting gym sessions in for coming up to Christmas. And then we started back last Tuesday. We did a session just to break the cobwebs off then after the week off, and then obviously Thursday was New Year's Day, so we got a break then. But we've all kind of been working on our own things mostly, and then just tried to get back early to make sure that we're familiar with each other when it comes to this weekend.
Is coming back after the Christmas break tougher than maybe that first week of pre-season, if you've maybe overdone it just a little bit over the Christmas?
I think it's probably mentally tougher. I think it's in the back of your mind the whole time that you're conscious of how much you're overindulging, and if you're not active, it's gonna play a toll on you mentally. But I think that when you do come back, you realize you haven't been as bad as you thought you would be, or I found that when you keep we did our running sessions, we did our gym sessions, and once you keep that consistent, when you come back, you're not what you were, you're not at peak, but it doesn't take long to get back into the swing of things. So I think pre-season's probably worse than coming back after Christmas. You're nearly fueling yourself. I just told myself it was a bulk. So
yeah, I'm hitting VBAs in the gym and all now. I am.
Me too, absolutely.
And I'm actually doing no gym work absolutely whatsoever. Enjoyed the Christmas way too much, but the weather as well has probably had an effect, because when you look at stuff at the weekend was called off with frozen pitches and everything like that, it's probably taken away from, you say, coming back now this week to do a bit of sessions where you might say, look, we'll train on a Tuesday and a Thursday or a Wednesday or whatever, and you mightn't be able to get out on a pitch because it's frozen completely.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Hopefully it's not frozen for training. Hopefully we can train this week, because our junior girls were meant to play Westport on Sunday, and now that was an away game. So Westport, obviously being very coastal, is going to be frozen. But there was a few girls that would play on the AIL squad that were supposed to be involved in that. We were putting out a good lineup, and I think it was a lot of girls kind of coming back to playing. So Sarah McCormack was going lining out at 8. She's been out for a while with I think it was a hamstring injury. So it was kind of her chance to ease herself in. But it was disappointing that it was called off and that they weren't able to get the run out, because it definitely would have helped towards Saturday even.
And are you all looking forward now to getting back on the pitch this weekend, of course, Galwegians taking on Railway Union. There'll be definitely plenty to digest on next week's podcast for sure.
I'm excited, to be fair. Like, I know you kind of look forward to the break and seeing your family, but like for me, a lot of the girls I play with are my best mates. So it's really nice to kind of get back onto the pitch and play with your best pals as well. And especially, like, I love playing against people I'm friends with as well. So there's a couple of girls on wages that I'd be fairly close to and fairly friendly with. So it's always a good kind of a game when it's teams like that you're playing against.
And you'd be best of friends on the pitch on Saturday. And of course, really looking forward to doing the podcast again. And maybe you might end up in Craig's again. We'll have to wait and see what way the fixture gods work with the weather and everything like that.
I'm going to avoid Stacey like the plague. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll be right in the middle of the pitch. You won't see me.
Yeah.
Looking ahead to the weekend, we're starting off with Old Belvo against Ennis. Ennis's first trip up to Ollie Campbell, and before the Christmas, what a result they had down on their home patch to get a draw against one of the traditional top four teams, if you want to call it that, a well-established team in Old Belvo. Like Ennis they're doing so well, having come up this year. Maybe a lot of people didn't give them much chance coming up from the junior, but I think they've really proved all the doubters wrong so far this season.
Completely agree with you. The only thing with playing Belvo in Ollie Campbell is they have a big sense of pride. Like they really don't want to get points scored against them. They really don't want to lose when they're playing up there. But I think the really exciting thing about this game is Ennis have never played there before. You know, like there has never been a Belvo versus Ennis fixture yet. So, like I was looking back on the scores from the season last year of the fixtures of this week, and there's nothing there. So, like, you can't really expect anything because, like, anything could happen. It could change if they blow the wind, like, you know. So I'd say it's going to be really exciting. I'd say it'd be a game to really look out for and watch.
And we're going to have that element of the Celtic Challenge coming into it as well, where it's effectively a new season. Even though we're into the second half of this season, it is going to be very new. But as you said, Ennis, like, they're going to go up there. They're not going to have any fear. It's going to be their first trip up, but you know, Belvo are going to have the pride. You know, Fiona Hayes is up there this year. She's going to want to do a good job to get them into those semi-finals come April and try and get them to the Aviva. And they're not going to want to drop points this weekend.
No way.
I think Belvo, like, even with a lot of players gone to the Celtic competition, the people that they have to replace them are still like just as strong as like that first team that they would put out as well. So I wouldn't expect much of a dip in their performance, really, like too much of a dip. But Ennis, like, they're not losing many at all, so they'll definitely, like, they've come out all guns blazing from the start of the season. So I think they're, after the draw before Christmas, they're definitely going to have like a fire in them that they're going to want to like show that they are capable of doing it again, and it wasn't just a fluke.
Yeah, like I know, say from the first game of the season, Aimee, like what way Belvo performed, like going into that game, I think many thought, you know, Belvo, new coach, same as yourselves, maybe a couple of different things. It is the first game of the season, and they did really, really well. Then they kind of dipped slightly when it came to Blackrock and Bowes, but they've really picked it up since. And I suppose you don't really want to drop much points when you look at 12 months ago. Like, they were holding on to fourth spot, but if Wicklow had gotten those results in the second half of the season, they could have been really, really, you know, at risk of missing out in the semi-finals last year.
Yeah, I think, like, I think on the league table, I think there's only a difference of like maybe 4 points between fifth and fourth. So like, there's still like, it's still a very long season. Like, there's a lot to play for. So exactly what you said, like, you don't want to be losing points. You want to be kind of trying to get them the full complement of 5, you know?
Yeah, yourselves are on 30 points in fourth spot, and then Galwegians are in fifth. They're just 3 points behind you. And then you look at, you know, there's 4 points separating Bowes at the top to Blackrock, and then 3 points separating third place Belvo to yourselves. So it's going to be interesting if that is the mix when we're coming into April for, you know, who gets home semi-finals in that respect. But, you know, Galwegians aren't too far away. And then you Wicklow as well in sixth place. I know they're only 10 points behind you, but it's all about results now. And if those results don't go your way in the second half of the season, like, it's going to be curtains come April to try and make those semi-finals.
That's it. And if you look at the tables from the start of the seasons, I think there was 5 different teams in the top 4 at one stage as well, compared to like the stereotypical top 4, you know, like so like it really is, anything's up to play for, you know, like the season's far from over.
I know, Stacey, you were one of those teams that were flying high at the start of the season with the way that you performed. I know you're just outside of the top 4 now, but I think from your perspective as well, I know results haven't gone the way you would have wanted in the last few weeks, but you'll know yourselves that if you don't get those results in the coming weeks, you know, you're going to run the risk of missing out on those top 4 places.
Yeah, one of our goals this year was, we finished 6th last year, and it was going to be to finish higher than that, but we actually changed it. We said, like, no, like aim high. We want to be at least top 4. So starting there was like, did really well at the beginning. I think being top of the table nearly, and not being a conventional team that would be top of the table, probably put a lot of pressure on us as well, to try and prove that like we deserve to be there. That teams probably thought it's just the way the games kind of rolled out. But when it did come to playing the top 4 teams, we might have let maybe 2 games go, whereas 2 were really competitive games, and we probably threw them away. So I don't even remember what the question was now. Yeah, honestly, I like trying to remind myself what rugby is. No, we have to completely take advantage of these next 4 games as well, because they're the telling games, and they're the games that we let go, and we want to prove that we're just as much as entitled to be around in the top 4 as the teams that are there.
When you go back, Aimee, to what you said about, say, coming into this first round of the second half of the season, anything can happen, and we've seen it in the past that we could see any kind of result happen this weekend. How big a result would it be if Ennis could manage to take what they learned from the home game and the ending that they had, and maybe they could have snatched it in the final few minutes there down in Drumbigle, that they could now take this and beat a team like Belvo in their home patch?
I think it'd be phenomenal for them, to be honest with you. Like, especially like if you look at the patterns of teams that have just come up in the first year, like Tullow kind of struggled last year, and when Stonians came up for the first time, they struggled as well. And any kind of team that comes up their first year, it struggled. Ennis just have seemed to take to it like a duck to water. Like, they're just flying it. And like, I think I agree with you. Like, at the start, you think Ennis first year up, like, it'll be grand, don't worry about it. But I think even for us, when we played against them, I think we underestimated what they were going to come out with. Like, they came out and wanted to win, and wanted it to be a game, and wanted it to be a competition. So I think if they get this win against a stereotypical top 4 team, like, there's no stopping them. You know, like, you can't assume anything's going to happen in this league, because you just don't know. Like,
I know scorelines don't really reflect how the game transpires as well. I know, Stacey, when you played them, you kept them to no score. You won the game. If you looked at the scoreline, you'd say you won the game fairly convincingly. But what Aimee said there, like, in looking back at match footage of these games, like, there's not a whole lot separating you. It's just, I suppose, the experience and trying to get scores when they present themselves as well.
Yeah, there wasn't much separating us at all. I think the scoreline definitely doesn't do them a service. They completely put it up to us, and it's tiny little things that result in scores, and it's just little things that they weren't able to manage or didn't go their way that resulted in us scoring, like, putting so much on them, and them not being able to get a score. Now, I'm not talking down on Galwegians and saying that we have bad defence or attack, but like, it was marginal, the actual difference on the pitch in comparison to the scoreline. So that's a game coming up against them is one that we definitely can't underestimate and think we won it before Christmas, we'll win it again. Like, it's definitely not guaranteed against them.
I know there'll be an interview with Ennis captain Michaela Glynn. That'll be up in the IRFU website later on this week. I managed to catch up with her just to kind of talk about the season, and like they've had such a great start to the season, and you can't knock them for their performances. And look, we'll see what way that result will go this weekend, and definitely one to keep the eye on, and what a game to kick start the weekend. Second game, of course, we'd have all eyes on the podcast for the second game. Of course, Galwegians at home to Railway. Of course, last year's game was to be in Crowley Park. You landed in Crowley Park, then ended up heading over to Craig's. I think was it a floodlight failure? I think that day, Stacey, or something like that. And we could have any weather conditions. We mightn't get snow in any other part of the country. We could get a dusting of snow down in Crowley Park this weekend. God knows what's going to happen. Your game before Christmas went the way of Railway, and I'm sure, Aimee, you're not going to be saying, look, we beat them well before Christmas. Now we're going to go down and we're going to get the same result, because you know exactly what you're going to be expecting this time around.
Yeah, I think it comes back to like as well, like Galwegians are a team with such a pride, and especially like it's been a noticeable difference this year that they are a team that want to play together and want to win together. So like I was looking at the scores from last season and we won 56-0. Like I don't think that's going to happen again. Like I think it'll be a lot tougher and a lot closer of a game, especially like I never want to say about travelling down because every team has to travel, so I don't like to factor that into anything. But I think it comes down to having a pride about playing on your pitch with your jersey and your team. So yeah, you can't assume anything, because like all it takes is a bounce of the ball for the game to go a completely different way. It'll be exciting though.
Yeah. It'll be very interesting.
Yeah,
we have to wait and see what way the things transpire, and neither we injure each other, and we have a episode 2 next week, and we could be putting up a notice going, we need a new co-analyst there, because one of them is after injuring the other. But it will be an interesting game. It will be a tough game, and I think, Stacey, you do pride yourselves on home advantage and making it count. But I know, having spoke to Diarmuid Kearney earlier in the season, like he had so many injuries last year, so many younger girls coming in. There was a period of transition there where Galwegians have lost some inspirational leaders over the last couple of seasons, but those girls that have come in have really, taken on the role, taken on the responsibility well. They're wearing the jersey again this season. They've got that experience, and they're showcasing it with how well you've started the season as well.
Yeah, the new girls that came in, like we had some kind of come in last year and then a few more this year. And I think the girls who came last year just are way more comfortable this year, and they've completely revamped the team. We did lose a lot of notable players that would have been stalwarts of the club. And there was a long period of us struggling with injury last year as well. We did just not have enough to cover the injury. We weren't able to cope with it. It was fairly rampant, which was tough to see out the end of the season like that. But even with injuries this year, I think we have a good panel of players that are all absolutely well able to play an AIL game, competing for spots. I think we've got 8 props or something, all competing for front row. So every week, no one knows who's going to be in our front row. No, the girls themselves don't know. It just depends how they train that week, really, or just what the coaches have in store, or the plan they have. So having a bigger squad, having the young girls who have come in have completely, it nearly feels like it's been overhauled since the last few years, where we were nearly fighting the bottom of the table. And as well, playing at home, there's no denying Crowley Park is horrific. The conditions are so bad, but I think we nearly try to use that to our advantage. We're used to it. We train in it twice a week, and yeah, we just kind of only hope that people don't want to be traveling to Crowley Park to play there. That would be the best scenario for us.
And I know you will be missing a couple of girls due to the Celtic Challenge as well. So I suppose it's all about just getting the squad together. And I'm sure the analysis has been done looking back at the footage from the Railway game and just seeing where you can, I suppose, fine tune and polish the performance now going into Saturday as well.
Yeah, it is kind of only exactly that. It's fine tuning. It's just like the small little things that didn't work, or like that we could do better. And yeah, so we'll work on that. We are missing a handful of girls to the Celtic competition, but I think we have the players to fill in that are able to kind of put their hands up and say, I can go in this position as well. So with all that, I am looking forward to getting a second go at it and seeing how it fares out.
And I'm sure, Aimee, from your perspective, like the way that Railway have, I suppose, he started the season, it was maybe a tough run with the 3 defeats, started things off, and new coach coming in, maybe took a little bit of time to settle into things, but since then it's been all steam ahead. You've had some fantastic results, and I'm sure just mentally and just getting that form right, you'd be wanting just to continue on the same path now, kicking off the second half of the season.
Yeah, I think continue on, but I think also improve on, like I think there's a lot left for us that we're not really tapping into just yet. And I think we're getting there. I think we're knocking on the door of it, but it's just you have to keep knocking until it opens, so it's really kind of being consistently trying to be better. And like we're one of the teams, like we strive and we want to be the best at getting better, so yeah, tough run at the start of the season, but look, there's nothing you can do about it now. It's over. You take what you can, you learn from it, and you just keep on going, and you kind of look forward to the next games you have and see what you can do then and how best you can perform then. And I think we do a lot of focusing on ourselves and what we can do better,
And I suppose a bit like Galwegians, you've had newer girls coming in that have taken a bit of time to settle in, and obviously some of the older girls that have been around for the last couple of seasons. So there's a nice little blend in both youth and experience within the ranks at the moment.
Yeah, there is
definitely.
Sorry.
No, go on, Stacey. Go on.
There is a good blend of that as well. Sorry, with Galwegians. And I think Interpros was definitely what kind of solidified the young girls with the more senior players. And it's probably the same with Railway. Like when there is a lot of players coming from junior teams around Leinster as well that would be moving to an AIL squad after probably getting the little call up during the summer. So it probably is the same thing that the summer really helps, I think, get the balance, I suppose, in the team.
Yeah, I think it's the confidence for the younger kind of generation coming up. Like a lot of people, especially if they're coming from junior clubs, it's oh God, like I only ever played division whatever. Like I don't think I could play AIL, but the way the Interpros landed this year, like you have that confidence now of the younger girls coming up and saying, no, I can do this. I know I can do this. I can perform as best as I can. I can perform just as good as the person on my left and the person on my right. So I think that's been the real like kind of thing that's shown through the Interpros, like that people aren't just saying, oh well, I just came from here, so I'll just stay here, that they really wanted to push on and better themselves and train with internationals and interprovincial players and really get the best out of rugby that they can get.
Sure, we'll have to wait and see exactly how this game transpires the weekend. Everyone will have all eyes now on Crowley Park for our 2 girls on the podcast going toe to toe and trying to stay out of each other's way as much as possible, or see what way things manage to transpire. Game number 3 of the weekend, Blackrock against Cook. I suppose Blackrock have had very good history in this fixture over the last couple of years. Before Christmas, 43-0 win away to Cook. Cook don't make Shaw's Bridge an easy place to go to, and they're a very tough team. But I think again, injuries and player availability, they've lost a lot of players this year. They might come down to Dublin, maybe 18 or 19 players. I think that's definitely tough on a squad when you're coming up against teams that have maybe 30, 35 players in a panel and are spoiled for choice when it comes to match day selection. And Cook are, just trying to go with what they can bring down this weekend.
Yeah, and I think they've lost 2 or 3 players to the Celtic Challenge. I know Niamh Marley is gone and Sophie Barrett as well. I'm not too sure on the rest of kind of the girls that will be involved with Cook that are up there. But I know like that's Sophie's a big voice in the pack. She's young, but she's big and she can carry herself and she can near enough carry a pack with her. And Niamh Marley just commands the back line fantastically. So I think there'll be two people that will be really missing from the Cook setup. Rocker missing a good chunk as well. Maggie Boylan's gone. Clean, like there's nearly a whole starting 15 gone from Cook from Rock at the minute. But if you look, like I was looking at the scores from last season again, I think the score from last season was nothing to 51. So, but again, like Cook don't like losing on their own turf. So it won't be an easy fought battle, I'd say.
I know when they played each other last year, was it round 14? It was in Shaw's Bridge. Rock only won 26-10 away. So as we've mentioned, when you get to this part of the season where there is girls away with Celtic Challenge and Blackrock have so many talented players away this weekend, it really does tilt the scales that you kind of don't know what you're going to have. Like there's a lot of big players that Blackrock have had this year that have done so well to get them to where they are, which is second place in the table going into this weekend. But now you're going to take them away, and Cook will have, all eyes on going down to Dublin this weekend and trying to pull off a big scalp as well.
Yeah.
But they won't have Sophie Barrett, wasn't going to be in contention regardless of the Celtic Challenge because she's dual status with Enniskillen this season.
Enniskillen, yeah.
I think she's got 5 under her belt already with Cook this season and won't be available until after next weekend's Junior Cup tie. Yeah. So but like as you mentioned, and I interviewed her not that long ago as well. Like she's had such a great year and is definitely one to keep an eye on over the next coming seasons as well. And we've seen her now with the Celtic Challenge as well, getting her chance to shine and trying to get into an Ireland squad for the Six Nations around the corner.
Yeah. And like I suppose like what she brings with youth as well, like you kind of, I don't know, it's maybe just because I'm a winger that I'm kind of scared of the forwards, but like the pack in Cook, like they're heavy, strong forwards, and you have the likes of Ilse van Staden who represented Ireland and who's been playing rugby a lot longer than I have anyways, that kind of knows how to dictate a game and direct a game and do some black magic in the scrums, So I think what they're lacking for with youth without her, they still have the experience in the front row,
I know Ilse's just an absolute legend at the game. I think Sophie mentioned her fondly when I spoke to her. She also mentioned, at the time where she was with yourselves in Railway and she was kind of learning off Pete's and that kind of forward mentality. Like she said, a lot of great people to look up to as well. And I suppose from a fellow forward, Stacey, looking at her, I think she's a very, very strong player and one to look at for the future for sure.
Oh, completely. Like even just from the game at the weekend, like Clovis and Wolfhounds, she's unreal. I'm scared to come against her. I came against her in the I think it was she would have played both games for Ulster probably during the summer, but I just remember I carried into her playing in the third, fourth playoff and straight away watched me rip the ball and I did not want to run at her ever again. She's unreal. And like having Ilse van Staden, like being the one that shows you how to like you said, the dark magic in the scrums, like you're gonna be good when you have influences like that on you. And that probably is as well, like going back to Cook and kind of where they're struggling, it probably is the younger side that they need more of. So like recruiting, looking at maybe like universities up north, trying to pull players like that. I think they're relying a lot on dual status as well. So actually, maybe they could be doing it, but going out of their way to try and get the younger players, because they definitely have the senior players and the experience up there. And I think it's such a shame when they travel for games and they are traveling with like maximum 18 players, because those 18 players are going to give it their all. Like just because they're traveling with 18 doesn't mean it's going to be an easy win. They always fight like till the very end. So if they actually had a full bench, fresh legs, you'd be scared to see what they could do.
Like I know you had a big win at the start of the season up in Belfast, Stacey, against them, and I know, Amy, when you played them not that long ago, you know, you put over a century of points on them that day. But again, in both games, they were still battling until the very end. And then, you know, a week after that game where you played them, you know, they were going to Ollie Campbell Park and they gave Belvo a really, really tough game of it. And I know the Black Rock game didn't go their way just before Christmas, but, you know, with a bit of time and resting the bodies, I know they still have a lot of players nursing injuries and trying to get them back, that they will go down to Blackrock this year, or this weekend, should I say, knowing that this time around things could be very much different, and they just have to go in with that fresh perspective and say, look, we can put it up to any team on our day.
Yeah, I think really, like, I think this half of the season is really, it's like a completely new season, to be honest with you. Like, yeah, you'll have injuries and stuff, but also you have people who've been playing the system now for what, 9 games, however many weeks that's been over. So a team that kind of, like, a player that was playing at the start of the season that was kind of 50-50 could now be 70-30, you know, and really making that difference.
It really could go any way, and I suppose that's the beauty of the second half of the season, that you could see any result coming. And I suppose Cook will want to try and get a results on the board. I know we'll say with relegation coming into it as well. I know Tullow are bottom of the table at the moment, but from Cook's perspective, they just want to try and build and regroup. And they have a lot of younger girls coming in that are giving it a go this year. And of course, they have those veteran players as well. They're definitely not a side to be underestimated either.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
The games, like you said, can go absolutely any way, and a lot of the time, I think it's the unexpected games that go the way you wouldn't expect. So, like, Cook could absolutely come out of it with a win against, say, one of the top 4 teams, but they could also definitely target the games that they have against the likes of, you know, Tullow, Ennis, Wicklow. Like, it takes one win to boost the confidence and the morale of the team, and they are well capable of getting that win that does boost them and give them a bit of energy coming towards the second half of the season.
Speaking on Tullow and momentum and trying to build confidence, you know, they're going into this weekend. They've lost 27 games in a row since they've come up last year. You know, 36-15 lost to Wicklow before Christmas. Now they're obviously making the return visit. You know, look, they've battled hard. You know, no one can begrudge their efforts since coming up. You know, Amy, you mentioned it, that a lot of teams have, you know, it took them a while to find their feet. Even Wicklow, you know, who they're playing when they came up, I remember like results when they played G in their first season. Like, those were some tough results for them, and eventually it took them to find their feet. And, you know, Tullow are doing so well. They're trying to put, you know, Carlow on the map for a rugby perspective, and just trying to build a good local strong team. But it has been tough. But I'm sure, you know, they're, again, a bit like Cook, they're going to want to come into this game and just treat it as, look, it's a fresh slate. It's a new season almost, and just try and get a result to end this famine.
Yeah, I think Tullow are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like, you have, if you look at it, a lot of the girls are moving to go to college. Like, their under 18 setup is fantastic. It's like brilliant. Like, if you think about it, their under 18s, Katie Corrigan came from there, Dan O'Brien came from there. Like, they've had phenomenal players come from their underage ranks, but have all left and either got contracts up in Dublin, or left and gone to colleges in either Cork or Galway or Dublin as well, you know. So, and I know Carlow has Carlow, I think, I'm not too sure what's the Mid-Atlantic something university, but a lot of the girls that are going to college in Carlow are playing with Coyotes, I think, just to do with scholarships and stuff. So even the fresh legs that are coming into the colleges, they aren't getting out to the AIL club, you know. So I think they really are trying to create a homegrown team, which, like, it's an uphill battle when you have 4 teams in Dublin, 3 teams in Dublin, 1 in Wicklow, you know, and then Galway, bit massive college. Like, I know with Cook, there's Queen, so they kind of struggle to get players as well. UL, another one of the biggest colleges in Munster, and then Ballincollig have UCC as well. So you kind of see with the teams that have colleges in it kind of have a bit more depth in the squad, whereas Tullow are kind of stuck in no man's land because they can't get the college players out because they have to play for the college team. But then their homegrown talent, they're underage, are moving to colleges elsewhere. So, I'd love to see a bit more support. Maybe Tullow work more with the Coyotes or something like that. I'd love to see that happen because like you never want to see a team get relegated. You never want to see a team go down. But like from what I've seen, there hasn't been much support from outside of Tullow for Tullow.
I know what
I
they're
could be
doing.
I could be completely wrong. I don't know. Like that's
Absolutely,
just for me
absolutely.
looking at it.
Yeah, but like from what I've seen, like Tullow have, they've really strived themselves on trying to get the club into this path. Like they did really well in the Leinster competitions, going up through the ranks, and they don't want to go back and play in the Leinster League next year. They want to have AIL rugby on their doorstep. And you mentioned like the underage setup, like they're trying to now have that pathway that they can give the underage girls the chance to come on and represent their home club, their home county at the biggest stage possible. And it has been tough, but they're still a very strong team. And I think if they can keep, chances to a minimum. I know, look, they've struggled with injuries. They've had to move players around and try and rejig the lineup whenever they can, and maybe go down to Wicklow this weekend a bit like Cook. They mightn't have a full complement of players as well. So, they're striving, and from the perspective, I think, of the league as well, like every team will want to go down and get results. But from the Tullow perspective, like, it has been mentally draining, but I think that they can still, on their day, they can get a result.
Yeah, I agree. And like that's it. Like no team wants to go out and lose, so it's really tough to kind of get into that mentality of, no, come on, we're gonna do this today, we're gonna do this. Especially if like you said, 24 games unanswered for, 27 games unanswered for, you said. Like it's hard, like, and it's tough. It's really tough mentally, especially like Wicklow down in Wicklow. I know I've said it for every team, but if there's one place I hate playing, it is Wicklow down in Wicklow. Their support is immense for them, and like you can hear it, and you're standing on the pitch and you're trying not to listen, but you can't do anything but listen to what their support is saying. So if you're already going down there with the mentality of, geez, here we go, another, we've had this loss, and like now we're gonna go down here and get basically abuse shouted at us, like it's very hard. It's very, very hard.
I think
go ahead, Stacey.
Just like it's so hard for the girls when they're giving their all. They are clearly giving their all, and like Aimee, you're pointing out, like using the colleges, that there is something that's going against them, and it's not the girls. Like you can tell that they're showing up every weekend, and it is the same names you see, the same people you see every weekend, trying their best. And when you're on such a long losing streak, and you're really trying to think, this could be the one every weekend, it's so hard. So they are like a testament to themselves, the girls that just keep coming out and keep fighting and keep hoping for finally that win. So like your heart nearly does go out to them, like even playing against them. And they're not easy either. They're so tough.
Oh yeah.
Like they're made of something different anyways. Like they do need like some sort of a kudos as well.
Absolutely, that's for sure. Like Tullow have done, they've done so well, and it is hard, as you mentioned, when I suppose you're looking at, results not going your way every single week, to turn things around, put back on the jersey the following week and just try and turn things around. Like I think each and every one of those Tullow players are an absolute credit to their clubs and their families and everything in that respect. When we've mentioned, Tullow creating that homegrown environment and being that club that want to try and develop themselves, like Aimee, you alluded to there, like the support that Wicklow have gotten, and the I suppose the rise of the women's game in the club. Like they came up a couple of years ago, and ever since then, like they've just gotten better. And now they're continuing to knock on the door for top four. As I mentioned, last year they came very close, just didn't go their way.
Yeah.
They've had a bit of a a slippy start to the season, just with the way the games went against those traditional top four clubs. It just didn't go the way they wanted to try and get that result, that statement result against one of those clubs. Didn't go their way, but they're 10 points adrift of top four now going into this weekend. And, you know, I'm sure, look, they've got the players, they've got the know-how and the experience and the support backing them, that they can say, look, we know now it's the second half of the season. We need to get these results on the board if we want to try and get that top four place this year.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I was looking at the coaching setup that Wicklow have at the minute, but I think the addition of Emily McComb was player coach last year, but I think she's just solely gone into the role as coach this year. I think she's going to be I think she really has a class about her when it comes to coaching. Like I've coached with her, I've played with her, like I know what she's like, and she's like top class. But it's just really kind of, I don't know, I think it's the same for everything. I think you can't discount Wicklow, and like even like when they came down to us and played against us, like they brought a crowd with us, like I thought flares were going to be thrown on the pitch and all at one stage, like they brought us like a group with them, and that's like, it's the pride of the club. Like they'll have a lot of the men's. I think it's the same with you, Stacey. Like the men's team will stay on and watch now, and like with Wicklow, I think a lot of the men's teams kind of stay on and watch the games and support the games and stuff.
I think just touching on that as well, just with the men's team staying on and supporting, like it makes a huge difference as well. I think just kind of creating that culture in the club where like every team is cared for, including the women's team, it does make a huge difference. So like having that as well at Wicklow, if they have built that kind of setup where the men and the women support each other, it's like, especially with Galwegians, like the men have been doing so well as well. They've kind of continued their winning streak. So we kind of want to live up to that and show like, well, the women's team is just as good. So I think that aspect as well does drive you a little bit more.
I think it's great to see, Stacey, from that perspective, that you have those kind of, say, from the AIL clubs that have the double headers, like, you have the men's team come out at whatever time, and then you have the women's team playing after. I think it just adds to the atmosphere of it. I know I've seen it down in Ballincollig when UL Bows have had the men's team on first and then the women's team play after. Like it just adds that, almost like that festival atmosphere, that you have the two games and everyone stays around, and it just brings so much support to a team. And I suppose it can just lift you when you need it most as well.
Yeah, even when we played UL, with it being a double header for both teams, like the men were there right at the pitch clapping us on straight away, even though their match had just ended. And it does like make a difference when you see your team's colours on your way to the pitch, when you see it in the sideline, when you know that there is people there cheering you on and wanting you to win. So it's huge, and especially as well with the home games, whenever it is a double header, and there's been a good few. Anytime it's usually the men first and then the women, but whenever we're going out into the pitch, they're always there clapping you on, and afterwards they're always clapping you off as well. So I think it makes a huge difference.
I'm sure Wicklow will be really looking forward to getting that support behind them this weekend to try and get another win under their belts. Another team that are looking to make it 10 wins in a row this weekend are the defending champions, UL Bows, of course, going for a three-peat this year. They are in a Munster derby action against Ballincollig. Bows have been very, very strong this year. I think over the last couple of years, I think everyone knows exactly what you're going to get with Bows. But look at all the players that they're after losing to the Celtic Challenge. But I think what we've seen was that when they were preparing for the last games, for the games just before Christmas, that they were bringing the players in that they would be relying on now the second half of the season. And I think they still have a very, very strong squad, even though they've lost so many players to Celtic Challenge. They just have such depth in numbers.
They have a class about them as well. Like Bows are a team that know how to grind out a win, and they know how to get in the muck and to get out of the muck and to get the ball over the line. Like they're a team that really, really know how to do that. And like I think, like you look at the class that they have around. Like I think Like Nicole Cronin is still kind of popping in and out, doing some coaching. Fee Reedy is still doing a bit of coaching and stuff. Like, I'm not too sure if God, what's her name? Oh my God, it's after slipping me. Niamh, Briggsy. Briggsy is kind of in and around still as well. Like, so they have, and like you look at the on pitch examples, like you've Chloe Pearse, you've Clodagh, like. I know Steph Noonan is injured at the minute, but I'm sure she's still sniffing around and giving a hand out when it comes to coaching, or to even just being there as a support. Like they have a class act of players that aren't gone for Celtic Challenge, you know. So like I think they're losing a lot of players, but I don't think you're going to see much differences in the scorelines that they're putting out.
I remember interviewing Fiona Reedy after the first final that he played in the Aviva that year, and it was like, yeah, that's it, I'm retiring. 2 years later, she's, replacement cover in the front row, and you're like, what better player to have than to have her around? And I suppose the role that she's had with the club, with developing the women's side of the game as well, and the players that they've brought in, like they've got such younger talent coming in, but they've gained a wealth of knowledge and experience. And like while they've lost, and you can list a full plethora of players,
full 15,
that were with the Clovers last weekend against the Wolfhounds in Craigs. Like they've lost so many, but they still have such depth in numbers, such quality. And I think Ballincollig, they probably learned a lot from the game before Christmas, but scoreline was still very one-sided in favor of UL Bows. But I'm sure they're going to go down and have this thing of, we are going down to the defending champions, but they're a defending champion that are losing, nearly, as you said there, Aimee, like a full 15 of players from the team that were, they might have played early on in the season. So I think it's very much all to play for, but I think Bows will still be favoured, but I think Ballincollig will still fancy their chances.
Definitely, I think they'll still put something up to them, like it's like I've been saying from the start, like you can't assume anything's going to happen in this league because you just don't know. And Ballincollig are really exciting. Like their backline is looking quick, like it's really fast, it's young, it's fit, it's fast. And the same with their forwards. I think their forwards are relatively young as well and fit like and ready and able to play the full 80 if they need to play the full 80. But they have a bench there that like is good as well. Like it means that players that can give it their all for them 60 minutes, and then next of all, someone's coming on and you're okay, like your spot is covered. Like, so I think we really, like, I think they could put it up to them. I don't think Bows are going to go down there and think that it's going to be an easy game, and I don't think Bows ever go and think it's going to be an easy game to credit them. I think it's a lot. I think you give a team a lot of respect when you go down there and you don't go easy on them. Do you know what I mean? Like I think it's more respect for the team you're playing against. If you go down and you do as best as you can, it's showing them that you respect them, that you're not going to just give them an easy game, And
I know, like, you're going down to UL, like it's their home patch, like they really pride themselves in it. I know, say at the start of the season, Stacey, you went down to play Ballincollig away, very close game. Aimee, when you went down and played Ballincollig, it was a very close game as well. So they are a team that can grind out the results, but I think it's just going to come down to how quick the scoreboard does add up. I know, looking back at the game before Christmas, they were nip and tuck for a while, but then Bows just started to show their quality, and their lightning quick backline or a couple of powerful forwards. The weather as well could come into it as well, and God knows what style of game it could suit Bows or it could suit Ballincollig as well.
Ballincollig will definitely have like their good moments. Like they're well able to grind out like good rugby. They do have their patches throughout the game where you're like, this is a solid team. It just not, I feel like it's not all the time maybe, but like you said as well regarding UL, like with them losing a lot of players, they have completely prepped for that this year. Like they are sorted with their next 15 ready to throw out. Like, so it will be tough, but like it'll also be a battle as well. It's not, I don't think it'll be one-sided. Ballincollig will definitely have their moments.
And that makes 5 very tough games to call for a very exciting start to the new year. I suppose we're in episode 1 and plenty of stuff to digest, but we have to get a guest on as well to see what they have to say of it. And I managed to catch up with the UL Bows captain, inspirational leader, and someone who's certainly someone that the younger players can lean on for guidance in the form of Chloe Pearse. And here's what Chloe had to say leading into this weekend's game. Now, joining us is our very first guest on our Women's Rugby podcast. Delighted to be joined by UL Bows captain Chloe Pearse. Chloe, delighted to welcome you onto our new podcast.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I'm sure people are sick of listening to me at times anyway, but look, here we are.
I'm sure you're absolutely sick of being interviewed by me. I don't know how many interviews we've done over the last 18 to 24 months, but all because Bows have been very, very successful in the Energy All Ireland women's division over the last couple of seasons. And look, you've been very successful again so far in the first half of the season, 9 from 9. Game 10 now this weekend, a home tie against Ballincollig, and I'm sure, look, keep the shoulder to the wheel and try and build on the previous momentum as well.
Yeah, I think, this is probably where we've pinpointed is probably going to be the most challenging part of the season with the Celtic Cup and the high representation that we have in that. So we kind of knew how important it was to go 9 from 9 coming into January, and the hope was to go 9 from 9 and 9 from 9 bonus points, but we messed up in the first game, so we're lacking one. Hoping it doesn't come back to bite us near the end of the season. But really looking forward to getting back on the pitch. We've had a 3-week break. Definitely will be a bit challenging numbers wise, but we've a fantastic seconds team and a great opportunity now for some of those girls to step up who train in with us, week in, week out for the whole year. And now we'll get an opportunity to play IL rugby. And yeah, as you said, shoulder to the wheel, and the goal will still be to remain unbeaten. But we're very aware of what's kind of going on in Celtic Cup and who we have and who we don't have. But all you can do is play what's in front of you, and that's what we plan to do.
I know you are down nearly a starting 15 at this point of players due to the Celtic Challenge, but I think in the weeks prior to going away for the Christmas break, you guys kind of knew who you were going to be without and kind of formulated the squad. So we saw a couple of girls coming in and kind of getting their feet firmly planted in that team, say between round 7 to round 9. So I think while you are losing a lot of girls, those other girls have already kind of stepped up and have answered the call already. Yeah.
In fairness, they have, and it's hard because some of them have to go out and play on a Sunday then as well in their own league. But we've had a couple like Becca O'Shea, Nina as well. And like that, they've gotten the score sheet as well for us, which has been great. But I suppose that's what it's all about is, you train all season, and the seconds games down in Munster aren't as regular as they might be in other parts of Ireland. So it's great for them to get the opportunity now to play week in, week out. And like that, we'll benefit from having the numbers, and they'll benefit as players as well. And it'll really test our squad depth now. But that's what you build for all year. You're fully aware of what this calendar looks like. It's jam-packed. And it's jam-packed until the middle of April before those knockout games come. So you just have to play the dice that you're rolled, and that's what we'll do. And the girls who step up, we'll appreciate to have them, and hopefully they put in a couple of big performances that help us keep that unbeaten run.
How have you found that, I suppose, that Christmas period now, that little bit of a break? I suppose it's welcomed to get a break as well, but now it's trying to get the bodies right and try and do a couple of sessions over that festive period before you take to the field now on Saturday against Ballincollig.
Yeah, I think you just have to, our S&C Jeff sent out a couple of bits, and you just have to trust that everyone's doing it. And, we all have set a goal is to win the AIL again, and to go unbeaten, and to put in, not just to win, but to put in really good performances. That's the goal we've all set, and we trust that everyone is pulling their weight. So you just have to believe that people are doing the work. I'm sure we'll know tomorrow night at training who is and who wasn't, but like that, you just have to feed off groups. Like a few of us kind of went out, like we had people returning from injury. So that's a great way to get people out as well, to kind of back on and help with a bit of rehab stuff as well. And it makes it a little bit easier then when you're in groups and the alcohol is running out of you from the Christmas and the gravy's running out of your skin and the Heineken. But look, you're all in it together. So it's not too bad then when there's a couple of you doing it.
No, and you've been through the hard slog over the last couple of seasons to know exactly what you need to do, I suppose, going into the second half of the season. But you've been very impressive to date, and I suppose, change of coaching setup as well. I know Sarah was there, has been there for the last couple of seasons, and you're well used to her at this point, but obviously she stepped into the head coach role this year. And, I think it's been very much the same kind of a terminology down in Bohs. I think the culture hasn't changed, and the results, I suppose, are speaking for themselves.
Yeah, like Quinny and Nick as well, kind of as assistant coach, like they've been involved for years. You have some players who play and some players who coach, and I think Nicole was one who always player coached anyway. Just that kind of leadership that she brings. And then Quinny has been involved with the Munster setups with Hayes and with Briggsy, and she's picked up some great traits from them, but not afraid to bring her own in as well, which is great for her to put her own stamp on her own coaching career, because the last thing you need to do is try emulate someone else, because more often than not you fail if you do that. So she's definitely learning. We're all learning, we're big on feedback and kind of giving it to make sure that we get the best out of the group. And sometimes that does mean changing what we do. There was a bit of bad weather before the week of Ballincollig when we played them before Christmas, and the storm was there and we weren't going to be able to train. So we went down to the gym instead and kind of had a bit of a fun session. Wasn't too fun when my team lost the team thing, but look, that's just part and parcel of the competitiveness, but that's what Quinny brings as well, and like that, she's doing really well, really backed by Nick, and then a couple of people in helping as well. But yeah, she's definitely will be delighted with the 9 from 9, but look, nobody will look at that at the end of the season. All they look at who has the silverware. They'll never say Bohs were 9 from 9 in December and January. It's who has that AIL at the end. That's what you're measured off, isn't it?
That's it. But I know, I suppose you mentioned Ballincollig and bad weather, and you're looking into Ballincollig at the weekend, and we've ice and snow in parts of Ireland, and everyone is probably worried about getting their sessions in. But Ballincollig, I know you had a very good result against them away from home before Christmas. It was hard fought as well. Ballincollig are a tough side down in Cork, and I'm sure, look, they're coming up to Limerick with the aim of trying to get points in the board and trying to, be the first team that beats UL this year. So, you're going to not want to underestimate what they can bring as well.
No, definitely not. They're the team who's taken the most points off us this season. That's something that obviously we were quite disappointed in. We pride our defence as much as we pride the numbers we put up in attack. So to concede 3 tries was a bit of a wake-up call for us, to be honest. And, you have to look at, what leads to that. And to be honest, a lot of it was individual errors, but you have to make sure you don't compound those, because that's when you leak points. But no, they're a good side. Look, a lot of the girls we've trained with and played with in Munster, and we know the quality of the players they have. They have the 2 Flemings down there, Aveen McGrath as well, who's, on the bench for Clovers the last two games as well. Lily Morris too, and they have a couple of halfbacks who will put them in the right positions as well. So really building a squad. They're not a team, we don't take any team lightly, but definitely not a team we'll be taking lightly this weekend. That first game after the break can always be tough, because you kind of do have that block where possibly you don't have a lot of training in. You might only get 2 sessions. So definitely will need to be focused come Saturday, and definitely not taking them lightly, especially on the AstroTurf. They have a couple of quick players as well. So we'll be identifying those threats and making sure that, we're ready for that.
And I'm sure from your perspective as well, you say now you're coming into the first game after the Christmas, it is trying to get, maybe heavy legs back onto the pitch and try and get everyone right. And with the weather coming in and everything like that, playing on an Astro, you haven't played a competitive game since the 14th, 15th of December, around that time around. So it has been a while, and I suppose it will be take this block and then focus on the next block, and then focus, I suppose, down the line of let's try and keep those results going so that we can be the number 1 team going into the semi-finals.
Yeah, look, obviously we know the dates of the semi-finals. We know what the last block lies for us, but we've a big block ahead of us now. We've Ballincollig away to Tullow, and then Wicklow here at home in UL as well. So you kind of have to take that block and not look too far ahead, because it is still a long 3 months to go. And if you start getting ahead of yourself, you kind of lose sight of the game at hand. And to be honest, the next game is always the most important game. It isn't Blackrock, the last game of the season. It is the next game, because that's all we can focus on. So, but yeah, bit of a change this half of the year now. It was kind of 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks. Now it's 3 weeks. And for the oldies like me, especially when you're playing 3 weeks on the Astro, that takes its toll. So I'm definitely not looking forward to the next 3 weeks, because Tullow have an AstroTurf as well. But look, loads of ice baths and out to the jacuzzi every Sunday morning, and I'm sure I'll truck along. But still, at least then when it is Astro, you kind of have a better chance of the games going ahead as well, as opposed to frozen pitches and trying to train on those as well. So it does help in that sense. But not when you have a bad back and a bad hip and things like that, and the joints to be at you running around in it.
Sure. Hopefully we all well and good now for Ballincollig on Saturday, and for the remaining games, of course, in that block, and so on and so forth. Chloe, look, thanks very much for joining us this week as the first guest on the podcast, and I'm sure, look, you will be sick of me by the end of the year. We'll probably have another chat coming closer to those semi-finals, or you never know what way the rest of the season will transpire.
Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Chloe. So that, of course, was UL Bow's Chloe Pearse, and that brings, I suppose, the AIL segment of the podcast to a conclusion, and we'll discuss the Celtic Challenge as well. Of course, while the season paused for the Christmas break, we went and welcomed the Celtic Challenge. We've had 2 rounds so far. The Wolfhounds have done what the Wolfhounds do best, and 2 wins on the board, 2 very impressive results, and a big win over the Clovers at the weekend. The Clovers sitting in 4th, and I suppose now we'll see they can test themselves now against the other opposition, the likes of the Gaelic Lightning and Brighton Thunder and Edinburgh and all those to come up as well. How have you guys found the opening 2 games? I think it's great experience for the girls just to get this level of competition when we're, I suppose, just a couple of weeks out now from Six Nations camps and selections and so on and so forth.
Yeah, the standard, just like the standard's unbelievable. You can see it, and you can see it improving, I think, year on year as well since it started. So watching that level and the girls getting the exposure before the Six Nations, it has to help. It has to make such a big difference. And I think even the crowd at Craig's over the weekend, you could see, I wasn't there, I would have gone if I was free. But the crowd, it just shows how much interest is in it now. And a lot of the people there were teammates of the players involved. We all care, we all want to see how they're doing, and want them to do the best. And I think just the quality of the game itself, I know Wolfhounds ended up running away with it, but there was just some moments in that game that were just it was great to watch. It was a great game to watch.
And it's great for the warm-up session and just getting everything right for going into the Six Nations as well.
I think, to be honest, from what I saw, I thought the game was quite close. I thought it was fantastic. It's brilliant to see that Erin King is back, and I know she pushed really hard to get back from that injury, and she was a big force on the pitch while she was on the pitch, and I think Wolfhounds won, but I don't think it was an easy fought win. I think Clovers really kind of put it up to them, and they were unfortunate with a try being disallowed, a try getting held up as well. I think they were really, really unlucky in that sense, but I don't think they were miles apart skill wise, I think, which is really exciting and really fantastic to see, especially coming into the Six Nations. They're playing against Glasgow and Edinburgh. That'd probably be 60-70% of the girls that are going to be playing in for Scotland on the Six Nations. You're playing Galway and Brighton, not Brighton, what's the other one? Thunder and Lightning.
Brighton Thunder,
you're playing against them as well, which is probably going to be 70% of the Welsh team, So I think for the girls to kind of get that under their belt before we open up in the Six Nations, I think is really, really important. You're missing a few big names that would have been there, would have played with them last year. Like Aoife Wafer's gone; she's over in Exeter now, and I know she was at the game. But you're missing some really big names that would have played. So it's really good to see that although these players are gone and there's new names in with Wolfhounds and Clovers, that there's still some really, really talented players coming in that position. And I think the back row and kind of locks and centres and eights is
so
the quality is high. It's really competitive, you wouldn't, personally, I wouldn't back any money on anybody to be definitely starting. It's very much coming up to, you'll find out on Thursday who's playing, and you can't bet anybody beforehand is going to be on that pitch.
Both teams have absolutely stacked squads. I think it's just a testament to, I suppose, the production line that's there at the moment for women's rugby in the country, that there's there's so many standout players for representing their provinces or clubs. And as you mentioned, there's a couple of girls that have gone overseas as well that'll come into the mix as well when you're trying to create, Six Nations squads and try and wrap your heads around, who performs well in these tournaments and can go into the squad. But, you mentioned it was great to see Erin King come back. Absolutely. When you seen her being named, that when she got the injury, and it was just such a heartbreaking moment for her. And now to come back into it, but, Fiona Chute coming back in as well, like, 2 players to get, a big run out and get a couple of minutes back into the legs as well. Like, no better game than to play, the Clovers versus the Wolfhounds to get yourself right back into, contention again for getting a few more minutes for the remainder of this tournament to, put yourself in a good, position to get yourself into a Six Nations squad as well.
Yeah, it's a massive opportunity for them to, for the girls who probably wouldn't have been involved before because of those players that are now over in the Premiership have been involved before. It's great for them to kind of get their call up, get their chance to put their hand up. And like Aimee said, like the back row centres, like the competition in those positions is ridiculous. So I feel like every time the squads come out, like I'll see Clovers first and I'll think, oh my God, like unreal stacked squad. And then I'll look at Wolfhounds and be like, I forgot all these players are also here, like ridiculous. So the fact that there is like so many like big names, and nearly I feel like as well when players are involved and they're not involved, when they are brought back in, you're like, oh, like I forgot about them. Yeah. So there's so many players in the background as well that you don't realize are there competing for these spots. And like Aimee said as well, it could be anyone's name on those team sheets, and even I think coming into the Six Nations, like there could be like big changes to what we're used to seeing on the training squad or on a game day team sheet.
I know that the Wolfhounds are heading away to Edinburgh this weekend. They obviously played Edinburgh at the start, the first game in December, and they got a 34-7 win there. I suppose they've had good history with them on Irish soil. They've also had good history in Edinburgh, but they make the Hive a very tough place to go to. Last year they had to grind out the results, and they've had to kind of do that over the last couple of years, and it's been a very, very close game. And I think that's what they will want as well going over. They will want those close and competitive games, and I suppose this is what the tournament is. It's, the best of the best going up against each other, and Edinburgh aren't going to make it an easy game, and definitely will be out for revenge after the defeat before Christmas.
Yeah, I remember when we were over there the year that I was playing with Wolfhounds, you come into the Hive and you're in the shadow of Murrayfield, and you're like, this is a big old game. And then you hear, it was the first year it was Clover and Wolfhounds, and you hear the Edinburgh crowd, and they are behind Edinburgh. Even I was at the game in Energia, and they still had a massive crowd behind them and a big support, even travelling over. So you can only imagine what the stadium is going to be like at a home game for them. But watching that game, I think it was a lot more even than the scoreline showed it to be. I think the Wolfhounds kind of just capitalised on a couple of their mistakes and kind of just grinded out the win, even though the scoreline was 34-7. I really think Edinburgh kind of played really well. I don't know if it was their penalty count that kind of let them down, or they're just finding their feet together, because a lot of the girls with Wolfhounds would kind of still all play together if they're centralised contracts or with clubs, whereas I know Edinburgh, they're kind of getting from colleges all around, like. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes, and even it'll be interesting to see what team the Wolfhounds throw out, not throw out, I hate to say throw out, but put out for the game, because like that, there's competition across the park with it. It's fantastic to see. It's really, really good to see, and it's exciting to see, like the future of rugby in Ireland is really, really starting to shine, and I think when I first started playing rugby as well, like I know, like personally from me, like I was like, what, Ireland has a women's rugby team. Whereas now you're talking to little girls who are 6 and 7 and we're like, oh yeah, when I grew up, I want to play for Ireland in rugby, which is like unreal. Like and it might just be the area I'm from, and like I grew up playing different sports, so that might just be that. But like it's like it warms your heart, and it shows we're doing something here. And even like with the push of the AIL, God, we're really doing something here, that kids are growing up and like aspiring to play for Ireland or aspiring to play for Wegians or aspiring to play for Wolfhounds or Leinster or Munster, you know, like that's top notch, like.
And they are as well, starting like way younger. Like you do see it the same way when I was growing up, it was only GAA, that was like your only option. Where I was, like, rugby was unheard of for girls to play. I started playing when I was 21, and that was when I was like, oh, there's an Irish team, you know. So
Yeah, same, yeah.
It just shows like young girls are seeing it now, and because they're seeing it, they're wanting to do it, and it's all of that as well is what's going to help it grow in the long run. So it is really good to see that there are all these competitions and teams and goals, achievements, what like that girls can aspire to achieve.
Now, in
And is
fairness,
that-
Stacey, we're 21 in the 90s as well, so.
So rude.
Already starting the trash talk before you play each other at the weekend. Love to see it. Getting the shots in early before the shots on the pitch. That's for sure. In terms of, as you mentioned there, and I suppose the growth and seeing the younger girls now stepping into the sport, would it be kind of on par with, say, the Ireland women's soccer team a couple of years ago making a World Cup, that when you see a team play at a high level, the younger girls are now trying to follow in their footsteps, and now you see, say, the women's team and the growth that they had with the World Cup in 2025, and just seeing that the pathway is now there, the girls can go and they can watch the Clovers or the Wolfhounds playing at home. They can go and watch their local clubs, an AIL club or interprovincial as well, that they can look at these stars and now say, look, I'm going to try and follow in your footsteps.
Yeah, I think you look at do you remember the movement, you can't see, you can't be? I think it is such a big thing, and I know Cadbury's and Sky put so much into showcasing the women's soccer team. Like, they put so much into it, and then the National League is after exploding as well. It's huge, and like I think they're getting like big crowds of up to like over 1,000 people a weekend coming out to the games, you know, like, which, like, a couple of years ago, like, I remember going to a National League game and like you'd see maybe 8 people on the side of the pitch kind of watching, and that'd be a mom, a dad, and a boyfriend or whatever, you know. So like I think really, like, when there's somebody backing them and someone saying, no, hang on a second, look at how good we are, look what we can do, look at all this. I think it's a big thing, because it's like anything. If you don't see it being done, especially when you're younger, you don't know it can be. If you don't know it can be done, you don't know it's happening, you know. So, and I know, like we're saying about the kids and how great it is for young girls and all, but it's the parents as well, you know, because like I know a lot of kids like are on screen times, or the parents control the screens, or they control the telly and all. So it's what really the parents are showing them, and I think we're kind of lucky that we're in the generation of the parents are, I suppose, like our age and younger, where you would have played with the parents, or they kind of would have had friends that played, that are showing it now and saying, oh look, I grew up with them. And like I know myself, my 2 best mates have two little boys, but they'll watch women's sports before they'll watch men's sports, because the moms are like, no, this is what we're watching, look at this, you know.
And it was great to see like the Green Wave support coming out of the World Cup, and you know, back in the women's rugby side of house. And I suppose you see it now with the likes of the Give It a Try programs and a couple of other things that they're trying to get more girls into playing. And I think it's going to be great to see, and hopefully can, you know, develop, you know, further clubs, and we could see, you know, growth in the competitions, not even just the AIL, but at junior level as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think
yeah.
Go on, say sorry.
No, I just the Green Wave and all the like visibility of women's sports, and it bringing up, like, improving, contributing to the like domestic game. It definitely does, because it is like, I think it doesn't cross your mind, like, you know, you're not born and think I need to play rugby. You have to come across it and be exposed to it to want to play it. Like, even I was thinking my own niece, like, had no interest in it. She came to one of the Interpro games during the summer, and now she's playing minis with her local club, and that's all just because she was exposed to the environment, because she was at the game. So it touches on Aimee saying it's what parents kind of show kids as well. So if you're introducing them to it, they'll want to do it. So it does. it does fall under that as well. And like that, like for me, I started playing because my dad showed me the Irish women's team playing. Like when he'd watch the men's game, he'd throw on the women's as well. And back then, the Six Nations, the way it was done was it was all kind of together. You know, they only changed it kind of a few years ago, where the women's took place after the men's. So he'd watch the men's game and he'd leave on the women's and watch the whole thing as well. And that's kind of when I was kind of like I realized that it was there, and that's how I got into playing, you know, domestic, junior, and then to senior from seeing it. So like the green wave and how big it's been, the only thing it can do is introduce people to the sport and build it.
That's for sure. And women's rugby in Ireland is definitely at a very strong point at the moment, not only with the AIL, but as we see the Celtic Challenge, and we see the way the Clovers and the Wolfhounds now get on over the coming weeks. And we have a big season of AIL to finish up on, and of course Six Nations around the corner. So it's only going to get better from here. And this is only episode 1 of the podcast. We've definitely loads more episodes to get into, and we'll have plenty to digest. But my thanks to the 2 girls for joining us for episode 1. And we look forward to episode 2 next week, and hopefully both of them will be here in one piece and not
still friends.
Still friends.
We'll see. The comment earlier, we'll see.
Yeah.
More fighting talk. Jesus, it's going to be an interesting game in Crowley Park on Saturday between the 2 girls. But my thanks for them joining us for episode 1, and I hope you've enjoyed listening to us ramble on for the last hour and nearly 15 minutes here. But hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll catch you for episode 2 next week.